I mean, seriously, sometimes you just don't look forward to a pay-per-view, and then it turns out to be a good one. This was the case for the Elimination Chamber. We had a couple of matches that were good, and some of them I think one of them was really bad, but the others, they were just fine. Overall, the pay-per-view, it was easy to watch. It was only like 3 hours and a half, and that length, I think it's perfect for any pay-per-view they want to do in the future. We had less matches, we had more drama, and some other interference coming out from the outside. With that being said, guys, my name is Sergio Jordann, and you're listening to Dispatch Wrestling. It will be a special one with the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view review. When I talk about all the matches and the news that came out of the show, you can see some connection going on, with the Usos being arrested. I mean, one of them being arrested with his wife Naomi, and the Carmella Corey Graves thing. So we know what's gonna happen with WWE in the future. Corey Graves will still do commentary, Carmella matches, I guess. But they did something I thought was good. With Carmella and Naomi being eliminated, the first team, I thought that was a good touch from WWE. Sometimes you may think, will they punish these people? Will there be something, else going on? Because they have a plan, and maybe they're gonna change their plans. But with WWE, most of the time, they are so stubborn, they don't change their plans, and they stick with what they have. And that's what happened before. We saw Jeff Hardy, he was in a car accident, he even ran into something, I think, on the side of the street. He was drunk, and they gave him the US title. And over here, something very similar happened here with the Usos. I'm gonna come to that later. But let's start from the kickoff show. We had the Cruiserweight title match between Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa. This was a really good match, but if you ever thought Vince McMahon will take the Cruiserweight seriously, I say think again. Because in the middle of this match, they went backstage with Kayla Braxton. She was about to interview Kofi Kingston. Xavier Woods and Big E came out instead. They promised that he'd win the WWE title later. And as they were talking with Kayla Braxton, you can see Akira Tozawa in the background with Buddy Murphy. They're having a killer of a match. So they came back to the match. We see Tozawa hitting a big clothesline and a German suplex for a 2 count. He tried to climb to the top, but Buddy Murphy stopped him. He tied him up and attempted a super kick, but Tozawa hit his own kick while he was at the top. We see 2 suicide dives from Tozawa. Buddy Murphy was hanging on the middle rope, and Tozawa hit a senton for a near fall. Tozawa locked on the octopus submission, but Buddy Murphy powered out and hit the Murphy's Law for the win. This was a killer of a match. When Buddy Murphy, whenever he is on a pay-per-view, not only him, with any cruiserweight, they always deliver on the pay-per-views. They try to do their best on these shows, but we all know what Vince McMahon thinks of small guys. He doesn't think much of those guys, so I don't want to see interviews. I want to see the whole match. And when it comes to the wrestling, I think 205 Live does a very good job with that. Then we saw Kevin Owens. He sent a video. He picked up a pizza and will be watching Elimination Chamber with his family. He says it hurts him not to be on the card. He promised that the Kevin Owens show is going to return soon. He's cheering the right squad. He hopes all of them wins championships today. Finn Balor to win the Intercontinental title. And he didn't know how to explain to his children that Becky Lynch can't compete tonight. He took a bite of a Hawaiian pizza and he hated pineapples on pizza, in which I totally disagree with him. I think pineapples on pizza is freaking awesome, so yeah. Kayla Braxton, she was on the stage. She introduced Mark Henry. Henry told the fans to give it up for the Cruiserweight match, and I applauded myself. He picked the Iconics and Kofi Kingston to win the respective matches, and also the fans chanted Kofi, Kofi. He then said that if he was in the match, there would be a lot more superstar introduced to the Hall of Pain. I thought this was a tease, because maybe he's referring to having a match, maybe in the future, at WrestleMania or something. But he talked about Kofi, and he's talking about it here. I don't want to see a Mark Henry versus Kofi Kingston match. We should see something different. And by the way, they shouldn't ask Mark Henry about the Elimination Chamber, because the match that he had, especially the one that Ryback won, he won the Intercontinental title at that match. That was one of the worst Elimination Chamber matches of all time. Mark Henry's pod got broken. He didn't know if he should come into the match or not. They had to pull an audible, and no one knew what to do. And then you can hear Dolph Ziggler directing traffic there. He was saying, you do a DDT, you go down and all that. But it was a total mess. It was a clusterfuck. And I felt bad for Ryback. He just won. I think it was the first singles title he won in WWE. It was in that match, and that match sucked. So we start with the main show. That's Bayley and Sasha Banks going against Nia Jax and Tamina, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, the Iconics, and Naomi with Carmella to determine the first WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Some people come to me and say, this is not the first women's tag team titles that happened, on the show, especially with WWE. I go yeah, I totally agree with you, especially when it comes to history. I think it's very important to enlighten the people about the history and what happened before, rather than making history. But if you think about it logically, this is the first WWE women's tag team titles, because previously it was the WWF women's tag team titles. So it is kind of true, I guess. I can't believe I just defended WWE at something. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville with Bayley and Sasha Banks, they started the match. They didn't connect well, but they did fine at the moment until Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan were in next. We saw Logan sending Sasha Banks' shoulder into the pod, and we see Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville giving Bayley a double superplex as the Riot Squad powerbombed both Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Like a huge Tower of Doom spot. Sasha Banks and Bayley were on the inside and both heels tried to work with each other. But everything there was a mess. The Iconics were in next and everything got fucked up. All the girls missed their spots in the ring, then the Iconics took control and their offense is so bad. Peyton Royce's knee to the face barely touches the cheeks of her opponents, and then you have the rolling leg attack that she does. It's even worse than Juice Robinson's straight leg attack. Naomi and Carmella, they were next. Carmella climbed up the cage, but Billie Kay tried to powerbomb her, reversed that into a Hurricane Rana and sent her into the cage. That looked cool. Naomi hit a split-legged moonsault, and she found Mandy Rose. So I got a full flashback of the awful storyline that was going on between these two. I was like, what a thing to remember. Shouldn't we just forget about that? Naomi clobbered Mandy Rose for a while, but the Iconics rolled Naomi up with a sunset flip jackknife pin to eliminate Naomi and Carmella from the match. The bad girls, they were out first. And it was the right thing to do. You don't cheat with a man who is married, and also, you don't drive on the opposite side of the street while you're drunk. Please, you have a reputation to keep in WWE, and you need to do the right thing. Nia Jax and Tamina, they entered the match. We saw the Iconics running back into a pod for protection, while Nia Jax and Tamina destroyed the other teams. Then they pulled the Iconics out of the pod. They pushed them into the cage over and over again until Nia Jax and Tamina hit a double Samoan drops to eliminate the Iconics. We see Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan climbing up the cage to the top of the pod, and they dove off onto Sonya Deville, Tamina, Nia Jax, and Mandy Rose, and that looked freaking amazing. Both of them just jumped on the opposite side, and they had this camera shot from front that was freaking awesome. Nia Jax then gave Liv Morgan the Samoan drop off the top turnbuckle. The Tamina hit the splash from the top rope on both Riot Squad members, and they got eliminated. Nia Jax charged into Bayley, and apparently Bayley moved when Nia Jax just went into the pod and destroyed it. When they showed the replay of that, it was obvious that Bayley wasn't in front of Nia Jax. She was just on the side, and Nia Jax just went into the pod without anyone distracting her. It looked stupid, but the spot itself looked actually good. Sasha Banks, Bayley, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville, they worked together against Tamina and eliminated her. So then we see Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Mandy Rose. They go to the top of the pod. Mandy Rose pushed Bayley and Sonya Deville pushed her into the pod. Then Mandy Rose jumped on Sasha Banks from behind and hit the angel wings for a close near fall. At that moment, I thought Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville are winning the tag team titles. I was like, what the fuck? With all these teams, you're gonna give it to these two? Come on, even though I love Mandy Rose, she's freaking hot. But no. The Sonya Deville accidentally speared Mandy Rose, and Sasha Banks applied the bank statement with her foot because her shoulder was hurt, and Sonya Deville tapped out. So officially, Sasha Banks and Bayley are the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The last part of the match was really good, and I never thought I would say this, but Nia Jax and Tamina actually saved the match. From the moment that they got into the ring, the match got good. And that's what happened here. And by the way, you don't put two heel teams to go against each other. When the Riot Squad, they were going against Mandy and Sonya, it didn't look good because even the crowd wasn't into it. But at the end, I thought the right team won, and that's Sasha Banks and Bayley. Even the crowd, they were cheering them on, and they said, "You deserve it," in which I hate that chant. They were both so happy and sobbing being champions, and which I think is great, because when you're a champion, you need to care about being a champion and holding that title. And hopefully at WrestleMania, we're going to see them going against Lita and Trish Stratus, and I think that match will blow the roof off. The Usos versus Shane McMahon and The Miz for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Before the match, we saw The Miz bringing out Maryse, and she announced that they're having another baby. Miz dedicated the match to his unborn child. Shane McMahon came out. He set up Jimmy and Jey Uso to do separate corners coast to coast. He did the first one on Jimmy, but on the second attempt, he jumped off, but Jey super kicked him mid-air. That looked amazing. Jimmy missed a charge in the corner and The Miz hit a DDT for a 2 count. Then we see Jimmy doing a suicide dive, but hit Jey Uso by mistake, misplaced one of the Usos on the announcer's table, and Shane hit an elbow drop from the top of the turnbuckle. He was about to miss that, but thankfully he crashed into him. Then we see Jimmy hitting a super kick, followed that with a splash, but The Miz got his knees up. We see a skull-crushing finale, but Jimmy rolls up The Miz to win the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So, yeah. The guy was in trouble, he got arrested, he did something bad, and they gave them the titles. I don't know, I mean, like, there must be something going on. I mean, are they giving the titles to the Usos because they want them to stay with WWE? Is that the case? Or they're just going on with the plans? I don't think there was any news yet of the Usos, renewing with the WWE and staying with them. I hope there's a plan for this. You can't give prizes, or you can't give the titles and good positions to people who do awful things. I'm not saying it is like a big awful thing, like, cheating on your wife, but driving while you're drunk, that's like really bad. I never condone this, especially if you're drunk, because there are other lives that can be in danger because of you. So, they need to stop this. Imagine if you're a superstar who doesn't do anything wrong, you do the right things, you're there on time, you say whatever they want you to say, and do what they tell you, but at the end they give the prizes and the good positions to the people who fuck up. I don't think you will be happy about that. But anyways, Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in a handicap match for the Intercontinental title. Lio Rush wanted to start the match, but he teased himself and tagged in Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley attempted to do a powerbomb, but Balor turned it into a backdrop. Then we see Lashley was about to do a spear, but Rush tagged himself in. Lio Rush then missed a frog splash. Balor blocked Rush from making the tag. He sent Lashley and Rush to the floor. He did a tope con giro on both of them, a dropkick on Rush, and then a coup de grace to win the Intercontinental title. I couldn't be happier for Finn. After a long struggle, being the first Universal Champion, then vacating the title next night on Raw, things didn't go well for him. And now, it doesn't matter the way that he won the title, I'm just happy that he has the Intercontinental Championship. We never thought they will go all the way with Finn. It seems like they have some kind of a plan for him, and I think it's a good thing. After the match, Bobby Lashley was so angry about this loss, he was about to attack Lio Rush. He stopped, but attacked him anyways. So, Lio Rush being added to Bobby Lashley, I thought it was a great act, and it was an improvement for Bobby Lashley to have that charisma and be able to connect with the fans, even if he's a heel. And now they're separating the guys. Why? I thought Bobby Lashley was much better with a mouthpiece, and Lio Rush was a great mouthpiece. I think this is a mistake. The Raw Women's Championship match between Ronda Rousey. She defeated Ruby Riott in a squash match that was under 2 minutes. Poor Ruby Riott. I mean, she deserves better, but they're building for a WrestleMania main event, so sacrifices had to be made. Yeah, by the way, Ronda Rousey came out dressed as Sonya Blade for Mortal Kombat, as she is the voice actor of the character, and I can't wait to play the game. Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out on April 23rd. For those of you who are gaming fans, now you know. Charlotte Flair was watching ringside. They went face to face until Becky Lynch came out through the crowd on crutches. They looked at each other until Becky Lynch attacked Charlotte Flair with one of the crutches. Ronda was just watching there, then she picked up the other crutch to attack Flair but Becky attacked her from behind this time, and one of the hits cut Ronda Rousey right in the head, so she was bleeding from it. And I don't think Vince McMahon was happy at that moment, with the PG show and everything, and hopefully he doesn't fine Becky Lynch like $100,000 the same way that he did to Batista. Hopefully that doesn't work. Then we see security coming out. They took out Becky Lynch from the arena. Baron Corbin defeated Braun Strowman in a no disqualification match. This sucked balls. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley came out to help Baron Corbin. They did a triple powerbomb spot through 2 tables that led to Baron Corbin winning the match. I guess Braun Strowman doesn't have friends now. Although, the spot with the table, when they did the triple powerbomb through 2 tables, man, that spot looked great. But the match sucked. And if I had to make a prediction, this will set up a 6-man tag team match at Fastlane with Braun Strowman teaming up with Kurt Angle and Seth Rollins. That's what's gonna happen, I think. And it should be a no DQ match. Fuck, imagine all these 6 guys in a no DQ match. That can be good. WWE Championship match inside Elimination Chamber was between the champion Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, Kofi Kingston, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. Before the match started, Daniel Bryan came out with Rowan. He said he's being punished for enlightening the fans, and that's why he has to start the match. The fans were doing the what treatment, so he said they chant the same thing over and over again. That was refreshing him because he knows there is hope to make people better and change the world. Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe started the match. Samoa Joe backed Daniel Bryan against the cage and rocked him with a series of chops. Then he applied a series of submissions. They both went back and forth. This looked great. Kofi Kingston entered the match. He did a splash to Samoa Joe's back that looked great. Daniel Bryan draped Kofi Kingston over the top rope and nailed him. Then we see Daniel Bryan climbing to the top of the pod. He sat there. Samoa Joe whipped Kofi Kingston into the corner, but Kofi Kingston climbed up and was in the face of Daniel Bryan. Bryan tried to escape by climbing across the cage, but Kofi Kingston chased after him. Joe pulled off Daniel Bryan, then Kofi Kingston dropped off and landed on both of them. AJ Styles entered the match. He hit the phenomenal forearm on Daniel Bryan as he hung onto the cage. We see Samoa Joe whipping AJ Styles into the cage and then backdropped him into the ring. Kofi Kingston went after Joe, but he locked on the Coquina clutch. Kofi Kingston fought out of it by hitting a Joe breaker. Styles then hit the phenomenal forearm on Joe for the first elimination. The first guy to be eliminated had to be fucking Samoa Joe. At Survivor Series it was the same thing. He got eliminated like in 7 seconds. And that's what I don't get about Vince McMahon. Like, he never saw anything in Samoa Joe. This guy is so talented. He is the best promo in the world. And his in-ring work is A+. He's like really good, but I don't know why Vince McMahon doesn't see anything in Samoa Joe. Fuck you, Vince. Jeff Hardy entered the match as he placed AJ Styles on the top turnbuckle. He hit the Swanton Bomb, being at the top of the pod, and landed on AJ Styles, who was laying at the top turnbuckle. That looked great. We see Daniel Bryan superplexing Kofi Kingston as AJ Styles gave Bryan a German suplex from the Tree of Woe position. That looked great too. Randy Orton was the final entrant in the chamber. Orton went after AJ Styles, who was still in the Tree of Woe. Styles fought back and regained control. He went for the phenomenal forearm, but Randy Orton had the RKO on Styles while he stood on the ropes. And Randy pulled him down and crashed him through the canvas. That looked superb. Then Randy did a draping DDT on Kofi Kingston and attempted the RKO, but Kofi Kingston hit the Trouble in Paradise and shockingly eliminated Randy Orton. It came down to Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. The fans broke into Kofi chants. Bryan hit a series of kicks, but Kofi Kingston hit the SOS for a near fall. Daniel Bryan hit the running drop kick in the corner over and over again, but Kofi Kingston countered the last one of it for a 2 count. We see a Trouble in Paradise, but Daniel Bryan rolled outside the ring. Kofi Kingston rammed Daniel Bryan's head into the cage over and over again. He attempted the bulldog, but Daniel Bryan shoved him into the pod. Daniel Bryan hit the running knee for a near fall. He went for the running knee again, but Kofi Kingston hit the Trouble in Paradise for a near fall. This was balls out. They did everything to get Kofi over. Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan fought on the top of the pod. Kofi attempted to do a superplex to Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan fought him back. He rammed Kofi Kingston again into the glass. Kofi Kingston dove off the top, but Daniel Bryan moved and hit the running knee for the win. This was a really good chamber match, maybe one of the best The last sequence with Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston in the ring, it was tremendous. It reminded me of a time when Kofi Kingston did the boom drop on Randy Orton, who was laying on a table, I think it was in Madison Square Garden, maybe in 2009, and the crowd was so loud, but at this moment, the crowd was even louder. I think it was the loudest in Kofi Kingston's career. Yeah, after the match, we see Xavier Woods and Big E running down to check on Kofi Kingston. The fans cheered for Kofi. They said thank you, Kofi, and they did more Kofi chants. And he deserves it. Like, I thought if there was a good moment, if there was a time to make Kofi Kingston the WWE champion, even for a week or a month, just do it now. People are so behind him, and he had a very good showing here. It made me think, like, maybe this spot, the exact spot here, it was meant for Mustafa Ali to go toe-to-toe with Daniel Bryan and be the last guy against him, and then set up a match between them at Fastlane, before WrestleMania. Poor guy. Poor Mustafa Ali. I mean, this spot, I think is good for Kofi, because he got the spotlight, and people loved him. Hopefully we see Mustafa Ali come back, very soon. And they can have a run, with these two guys go against AJ Styles. Even a triple threat match between Daniel Bryan, Mustafa Ali, and Kofi Kingston for the title. I wouldn't mind that. I think that match can blow the roof off and be one of the best matches, either at Fastlane or WrestleMania. Mention in the comments below, what did you think of Elimination Chamber? Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel, it will help me a lot. And you can check similar content like this here on the side. Take care, guys.